I think that it is Jets or nobody. And the big question Aaron Glenn's going to have to answer when he meets the media soon is, do you want this guy back? Now, one guy who I know wants him back is the great Joe Benigno. Joins us throughout the football season. He'll be at an amazing day on Saturday as well, broadcasting live 10 a.m. up at the Metro Market at Citi Field, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the Piazza Club. Bro, how are you, sir?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's actually been a pretty good week, and I think you could figure out what I'm talking about. But I certainly want Rodgers back. And, I've warmed up now to the Aaron Glenn situation, I have to say. The guy obviously wants to be here.
Right.
The fact that the only reason that he's palatable as a first-time head coach that was a coordinator was because he's a Jet. He's a Jet. He played 8 years for the Jets. He wants this job. He understands the landscape. I think he understands, the history of what this franchise is. Although he played on some, pretty decent teams. He played with Parcells. He was there. Aaron Glenn was there for Pete Carroll. He was there for Richie Kotite. He was there for Bill Parcells. He was there for that stiff Algro, and he was there for Parcells. So, for Herman Edwards. So, he knows the landscape. He wants the job. I wasn't too thrilled with what I saw Saturday night, especially when he had 12 men on the field.
Right.
But,
Well, that's what happens when you have a bunch of replacements players because everybody's hurt. You get confusion.
Well, I understand. And that was just a horrible loss for the Detroit Lions.
Second half was one of the worst halves I've seen them play in a couple of years. Joe, let me ask you something real quick before we get deeper into this. Do you remember what you thought about Aaron Glenn as a player?
I thought he was a very good player.
Right.
I thought he was the best corner we had until Darrelle Revis. And I've forgiven him. I talked to you about this already. He was the victim of the Mark Ingram spike touchdown in the Marino game in '94. That was his rookie year, though. So I can kind of, I let that slide. But I thought he was a very good Jet. He was a very good Jet. So from that aspect, yes.
In relation to the Marino spike, we had a caller the other day. And I don't know if you remember this, Tiki. Guy called in.
Yeah, I do.
Met Aaron Glenn on the golf course, and Aaron brought up how much that bothered him. That the Dan Marino spike and everything. So
I was down in Tampa. It was at Innisbrook.
Yeah. Right? So it lived with him more than just us as fans. Like, that bothered him, which is a good thing because, you take it with you as a player and you learn from it, hopefully.
Yeah, no question about it. That's a good thing that he was bothered by that. Look, you got a lot of his ex-teammates want to coach with him. Victor Green and Ray Mickens. I'm hearing all these different names. Apparently, Parcells has nothing but good things to say about him. I've warmed up. Let's go. Let's go. Let's hope he's the right guy. And I want Rodgers back. And I've heard rumors that he does too. And, I'm all for that. And let's go. Let's go out and, make the playoffs next year. Okay? How about that? Let's go.
How urgent do you think it is for Aaron Glenn to have success? Is it first year, second year? They have a team that has good enough players to be playoff viable. Obviously, as I've been saying all day to Evan, it really depends on the quarterback play. Now, if it's Aaron Rodgers, you can know what you're going to expect. But if it's anybody else, I don't think we have a clue what to expect. But what's the expectation for year one?
Expectation for me for year one. Look, we've had a number of head coaches, Herman Edwards, Eric Mangini, and Rex Ryan, all made the playoffs in their first year, all three of them. So we've had a lot of coaches had success right away. I want minimum, Tiki. I want a winning season.
Right.
Minimum.
Yeah. 9 wins.
And if we don't make the playoffs and we go 9-8 or we go 10-7 and somehow don't get in, okay, fine. I'll live with that. But the first year, I want a winning season. I'm tired of losing. We've had 5 straight years of 10 or more losses. You know all about the playoff drought and all of that. We have 9 years in a row without a winning year. I want a winning season next year. That's what I want right now.
So I've looked at the Rodgers situation and said, whoever they hire, that person's got to make the decision. I don't want Woody making the decision. I don't want Woody being pissed off about whatever.
The coach makes the decision.
All right. You obviously want Rodgers back. Totally get it. If Aaron Glenn's first decision is, I don't want him back, I don't want Aaron Rodgers back, what would you say about that?
Well, I'd be surprised, number one, because I think he wants to win right away, too. You got to tell me who's the quarterback. Who's the quarterback? Justin Fields? Is that who the quarterback is? Tyrod Taylor? Is he our quarterback next year? What are we talking about here? And I think we got to draft a quarterback somewhere here in this, and not obviously not in the first round, but somewhere along the line. I really like the kid from Syracuse. Okay, I like him. I think he's worth a shot. Maybe you could get him in the third round. Maybe the second round. I don't know. But But I look, I mean, you got to tell me who that quarterback is. I think Aaron Glenn's best chance of winning is Aaron Rodgers. So that's my feeling.
I don't think there's any question.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, when I think about the alternates,
right,
like, it is probably Justin Fields. You already mentioned his name, but there are not a lot of great options. So if it's not Aaron Rodgers, who would you prefer, if anybody?
Well, Sam Darnold may be done in Minnesota after he crapped out in the 2 biggest games he played.
Would you want him back?
No. I'd rather have Rodgers.
Yeah, I'm worried about, like, O'Connell did a great job with Sam, and he had his run, but it was like, it's almost like reality set in at the end with Sam.
Well, the last game, the Ram game, was really pathetic.
Yeah.
I mean, he was holding on. He got sacked a million times. He was holding on to the ball too long. He threw at least one bad pick in that game that I can remember. Oh, that's right. Didn't he get a pick 6 in that game? Right? Pick 6 for a touchdown. No, it was a fumble.
Right.
It was a fumble that was returned for a touchdown. Look. To me, Rodgers has got to be the guy. We got a young team. We still got a lot of young players on this team, on the offense especially. I certainly want Devontae Adams back as well. I think that's our best chance to do something next year. And look, I mean, we still got players on the defense, and it's going to be a completely different defensive look next year. We do get Jermaine Johnson back. I think our first pick in the first round with the 7th pick should be a defensive player.
Doubt.
Maybe we get lucky and get the kid from Penn State, Carter. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it's going to play out, but there's going to be somebody pretty good there. So let's go. I may even go out. I don't have one because I wasn't getting jerseys at that point, but I may go out and get an Aaron Glenn jersey now. I may have to.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
I'm serious. Number 31. Let's go.
Yeah. And like you said, he was a hell of a Jet, and it's amazing. You touched on it. He was a part of so many different eras for this franchise.
Yep.
The really bad with Richie Kotite, the really good with Bill Parcells, the transition from Al Groh, who didn't want to be here, to Herm Edwards. Like, and I think that's a positive attribute, that he has seen the bad of the Jets, and he has seen the good of the Jets, and I would almost think that prepares him for dealing with what it's like coaching this team and dealing with the media and the fans.
No question. And I think that's why he's, like I said, he's the one first-time head coach, coordinator you can sell to the fan base because of that. And I got to tell you, when they put him up in the expansion draft and we lost him to Houston, I was not happy about it. I can tell you that.
Yeah. We're talking to Joe B. Jets hire Aaron Glenn. What about the GM? The rumors are this Lance Newmark, who I don't think a lot of us have known much about.
Right.
But do you have a strong opinion on him or anyone else that you would want?
I really don't have. I have very little opinion on any of the GMs.
Yeah.
Unless you want to give me Mike Tannenbaum back if he wants to take the job.
None of them have history as a GM. They've all been assistant GMs or personnel guys. I know this Newmark has been in the Detroit system for a while. He goes back. I mean, you talk about Barry Sanders and stuff like that, and Megatron. But I think that you just don't know. I think the only thing that matters with the GM, Joe, is the relationship with the head coach. And it seems like this. I don't know. It's not a long relationship with Aaron Glenn, but at least it is a relationship with Aaron Glenn.
Right. If it's this guy Newmark.
Right. If it's Newmark.
Does the timing concern you? The fact that it's the coach first, the GM second?
No, not at all. Not at all. No, because I think that the GM, and now that Glenn's there, he knows what the landscape is now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of what contract gets done first. Like, which one did they want to announce first? It's that type of situation.
Now, Joe, I'm very curious your opinion on this. This has nothing to do with the Jets. This has to do with
I know. I think I know where you're going. Go ahead.
Which one? Is it Pete Alonso or Carlos Beltran? Which question do you think I'm about to ask?
Well, even more so, how about Billy Wagner in the Hall of Fame? What a disgrace. You're going to tell me that this stiff Billy Wagner, okay, if you're going to put that stiff in the Hall of Fame, okay, then John Franco's got to be in the Hall of Fame. If you're telling me Billy Wagner, who was maybe more than anybody else, was responsible for us not winning the pennant in 2006, okay?
I agree with you,
He
man.
is as responsible as anybody on that team. Forget Beltran taking the called third strike, okay? This stiff is in the Hall of Fame. Are you kidding me? John Franco's got to be in the Hall of Fame. John Franco had over 400 saves. John Franco, if you're telling me that Billy Wagner's in the Hall of Fame, John Franco's got to be in.
Yeah, I still hold Billy responsible for Game 7 because he was so bad in Game 6 that Willie Randolph did not want to use him in Game 7, which forced Aaron Heilman to have to face Yadier Molina the rest of history. So,
well, how about Game 3? Gave up the game-winning home run in that, too.
Yep. So Taguchi. The immortal So Taguchi.
Right. Was that Game 3 or Game 2?
That was
Whatever
Game 2.
it was.
That was Game 2,
Game 2.
So,
because I was there. I was at that game.
Yeah, that was brutal. That's when we should have known what the hell was going to happen in that series.
Now, Pete Alonso, of course. Do I want Pete back? Of course. But you know what? Let's be honest, okay? The boy genius, Stearns, because he's, let's be honest. I mean, he's smarter than everybody in the freaking room, doesn't want him back. And the guy that I blame is the owner. Because I thought Stevie Cohen had a feel for the fan base, okay? And now you notice what they're pulling now with this Vlad Guerrero. We're going to get Vlad Guerrero. You know what? Screw Vlad Guerrero. I want my guy. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it, from Tom Seaver to Darryl Strawberry to Ray Knight to Kevin Mitchell to Daniel Murphy to Zach Wheeler to David Cohn to Rusty Staub. I have lost every big guy that I have had on my team, with the exception of David Wright.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
And whether it was that, stiff M. Donald Grant, whether it was that stiff Frank Cashin, who even though he was the GM on a championship team, decided to destroy the team and then said Darryl Strawberry wasn't a $5 million a year ball player, okay? Whether it was that stiff, whether it was the freaking Wilpons, now Stevie Cohen is doing the same thing. And I am beyond livid.
Beyond livid. You know what I need? Because I want Pete back. Obviously, we're on the same page on this. I need Pete Alonso to call up Steve Cohen personally, get Boris out, because I blame him a lot for this, bro. I got major issues with his negotiation.
You think that they are, because we talked about this, Joe, last week briefly, that this is David Stearns, or maybe a caller called and said this, David Stearns is trying to get one over on Scott Boras to show Scott he won't be pushed around. We let you do what you wanted to do with Juan Soto. You got a record contract that was unprecedented, save for Ohtani, but it's different than Ohtani's because it's actually his real money and not all deferred till 2050.
Well, he doesn't play. The Dodgers can do whatever they want.
Right, exactly. But Scott Boras got one over on David Stearns, and now David Stearns is saying, you know what, Scott, never again. And Pete Alonso, unfortunately, is the consequence of this. Right? That kind of is what it feels like, and I hate that Steve Cohen is letting that happen if that's the case.
Yeah, I blame Cohen. It's on, to me, it's on the owner.
Well,
and Cohen's supposed to have a feel for this fan base. He walks around with the Met hat on and the whole 9 yards, right? It's on you, Stevie, to get this guy back where he belongs.
Honestly, I think it's on Pete right now to call up Steve Cohen, cut out the middlemen, David Stearns and Scott Boras in this.
Right.
Call him up and say, let's make a deal.
Right. Because kind of like Aaron Judge.
Because what drives me nuts about this, Joe, everything you said about homegrown, obviously I'm with you. Pete's my guy. I want him here. Put that aside for a second. They're better with him on the team. Just think about this season. They need him in the lineup. So it makes sense for the Mets. It makes sense for Pete. Cut the crap out. Call up the Mets because their offer, they made him an offer. And it may not sound great, but he's got no other offer. I need Alonso to tell Scott Boras, go sit in the corner, Tubby. I'm going to take care of this and get this thing done. Because now it's on him to reach out to the Mets because they both need each other. That's what drives me nuts about this. This makes sense for everybody. And if it doesn't happen, I think it screws the Mets and it hurts Pete. Oh, Pete's going to be better off in Toronto? Come on. Ridiculous.
Yeah, and of course. No, look, I think you're right, bro. Maybe it's time for Pete to get this done, to go call them and get his rear end back here where he belongs. I am livid if we lose him.
I'm with you.
I am livid.
Now, let me ask you about Beltran, because I like Carlos, and I remember we used to argue about the guy. I loved Beltran. I never thought of him necessarily as a Hall of Famer, but he's going to get in. Like, he's trending in that direction. If he gets...
Because they're hosing him because of the Houston, because of the scandal thing. Let's be honest.
They may a little bit, but he's already at 70%. Right. I think he's getting to 75 next year or the year after. I'd be stunned if he's not. And then he's going in as a Met. And we do not have a lot of Mets in the Hall of Fame, so do we retire his number? Like, what is the legacy now of Beltran if he's going to be one of the rare guys in the history of our franchise who's going to wear the hat of our team in the Hall of Fame?
I think you have to.
Well, first of all, I'd like to see Keith Hernandez in the Hall of Fame before I see Carlos Beltran in the Hall of Fame.
I understand.
And I'll say that, and I could go on and on about the Hall of Fame. You know how I feel about this baseball, right? You know what I think about these guys. Okay,
yes.
You don't even want to get me started on him. But I think Hernandez and Don Mattingly should be a tandem team going in together. But that's me. I really warmed up to Beltran. I didn't love him in the beginning. I really warmed up to him because he got screwed, but with the Houston thing. The Mets made a mistake of not leaving him as the manager. Wilpon and company should have showed some gallones and just let him be the manager. So he got hosed there. He's getting hosed for the Hall of Fame now because everybody else seems to be okay except for Beltran. He seems still to be getting hosed. If he put him in, I don't care. Look, the way the Hall of Fame is now, you might as well put him in. Put him in the Hall of Fame. And I think if he makes the Hall of Fame, you got to put number 15 up there. Don't you?
Well, look at all those numbers we're going to have now. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Unbelievable, all these numbers.
It's crazy.
It's fine. Look, you know what? I know you weren't crazy about that, but
it's happened.
It's fine with me, bro. You guys that were consequential to this franchise, and I think every guy that's up there, and I'm even good with Willie Mays, I think every guy that's up there, was consequential to this franchise.
No doubt.
And I think if he's going in the Hall of Fame, and I think it's only Seaver and Piazza that have the Met logo on their Hall of Fame plaques. You're right. Beltran's going to go in as a Met, and okay, I got no issue with it. Let's go. But I'm still leery that they're going to continue to hose him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the numbers are trending where he'll get in, but we shall see. Joe,
but I'm still livid over Billy Wagner. Oh, my God. Billy Wagner. Let me tell you, who's next? Benitez? You put Benitez in?
Braden
What a disgrace. Tell me this. What has do you think Billy Wagner's a Hall of Famer?
My gut has been no, but I also think, look, Billy Wagner was forget us for a second, because obviously I have the same feelings that you just laid out, the biases towards what he did for our team. He didn't come through in a big spot, and to me, he cost the Mets the pennant. So I'm with you, and I try to separate that and say, all right, he was a hell of a closer for the Astros. He was good for the few years he was in Philly. I just to me, Trevor Hoffman, as much as he sucked in a big spot, and Mariano Rivera, they're the guys for that era. Obviously, you go back further, you got Dennis Eckersley, other guys. And so Wagner doesn't match them. And so it's weird for me to put them in, because I agree with you. If Billy's in, now you open the door to a lot of other guys. I guess Craig Kimbrell, a Hall of Famer? He kind of is.
Franco, to me, it's Franco. I think Franco had 428 saves, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. How many did Wagner have?
I got to check that. Well, but you know what? I got a question for you, sort of related to this, because someone asked me this on my podcast.
Right.
And this includes more guys than me, because for me, I don't remember talking Jesse or Roscoe to include them, because I don't have a gut feeling. Games on the line, which relief pitcher in the history of the New York Mets do you trust the most to get the biggest out?
Probably Tug McGraw.
Okay. Because believe it or not, my answer for my lifetime was John Franco. I was like, because you know what? Okay. I'll tell you this about John Franco.
You didn't see McGraw.
I didn't. I can't include Tug because I didn't have the gut of
McGraw was the closer on two championship teams, the one with the Mets and the one with the Phillies in 1980.
Yeah. One thing about Franco that was very different than Billy Wagner and Armando Benitez is I never thought the moment was going to get to him. Yeah. If he gave up a save, it wasn't going to be because of the moment. It would just be because his changeup got tattooed.
Johnny, if you're listening to me now, because Johnny and I had our battles over the years, and I think we did. I mean, the one time with him and Leiter, I thought they were going to tar and feather me in the locker room one time.
Right.
But Johnny and I have certainly, whatever differences we had, I got great respect for him. He had big ones, bro.
Right.
Like you said, I mean, he was never afraid of the moment. He didn't get it done every time, but nobody has.
Joe.
He had big ones, and I think if you're putting Wagner in the Hall of Fame, John Franco should be in.
422 saves Billy Wagner had. He threw about 300 less innings than John Franco, but had about 200 more strikeouts.
Wow, he was a big strikeout.
He was a big strikeout guy.
How many saves for Franco, Teak?
424.
422 for Billy.
So he had more saves than Wagner.
By two. Yeah, 422 for Billy, 424 for Franco.
Yeah. Look, I mean, if you're going to put Billy Wagner in, then you got to put John Franco in. And I'm going to give you a guy, too. Here's a guy with CC going in. Come on. I mean, I'm not knocking CC. Okay, not at all. Got great respect for him. But you got to, you going to tell me he was better than Andy Pettitte? Are you going to tell me that? I don't know about that.
No, I think he was.
Okay, David Cohn. He wasn't better than David Cohn. But I'm going to give you.
Yeah, Cohn and Santana. David Cohn and Yohan Santana are two guys I think should be reevaluated based on how. Like Santana for 5 years was the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah, won 2 Cy Youngs, the whole thing. I
don't mean to knock Andy Pettitte. I just think, like, to me, CC was an ace. Andy was always a good number 2. Right. You know what I mean? But I get your point. I get what you're saying. I guess.
But here's the guy that should be in the Hall of Fame. It's not. And this has been brought to my attention, and I wasn't even thinking about this guy. Yeah. Tommy John won 288 games. Now, I understand we don't get crazy about wins, but back then it was a big deal. His ERA, I believe, is less than CC's. I think it was 3.34 was his ERA. And wait a minute, they named the surgery after
That's why he should be in just for that.
Right.
It is.
Are you telling me that he's not a Hall of Famer?
Look, it is a museum, but you look at the strikeout numbers; they're much less. Andy Pettitte is under 2,500 strikeouts.
Yeah, that's overrated. Strikeouts are overrated too.
Yeah, but I think ERA is overrated too. And Evan and I talked about this yesterday because what made CC so great is that he'd get banged around and stay in the game.
Yeah, he gave innings, man.
Right, and so he
gave the innings. He was a horse. I mean, there's no doubt. There's no question. I mean, from that aspect. But there's a lot of guys, man. I get very wired up when it comes to the Hall of Fame. You know, I feel like all the steroid guys should be in, every one of them.
Yeah, but it seems like that's over because A-Rod is 37. What was his number?
Yeah, I know, and I think Manny Ramirez
the wrong way. Yeah, they're never getting in.
Yeah, but they should be in. I mean, we're talking about there should be something for these guys. There's too many great players that they're leaving out of the Hall of Fame. And if you're going to put Bud Selig, who's already in the Hall of Fame, when he knew what was going on, I mean, let's tell it like it is.
Right.
If you think that Selig didn't know when McGuire and Sosa were going for the home run chase in '98 what was happening, think again.
Hey, but hold on. But from a Bud Selig standpoint, without him admitting that he knew, it helped baseball. So in some regard, doing his job, which is helping baseball, he got it by ignoring it. He did baseball a favor.
He did baseball a favor, and he holds the guys who were doing it for him. And I'm going to give you another guy that should be in the Hall of Fame, and he's not a player, but it is a disgrace that George Steinbrenner is not in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. How is George Steinbrenner, Charlie Finley too, but how is George Steinbrenner not in the Hall of Fame? That is an out-and-out disgrace.
Indeed. Joe, good talking to you. You'll be at Amazing Day Saturday, 10 a.m.
Yeah, I want to see you. Now, you're doing your podcast. You're doing the Rico Bronya podcast there?
I'm doing the Rico.
And where are you going to be? Am I going to see you? Where are you going to be?
I'm at a different place, but I'm going to come early. I'll come say hi. I'm doing it at the Cake Corner at 11 a.m., but I'll come by before your show starts.
How long is your podcast for?
I don't know yet. We have to decide. Maybe a half hour, 45 minutes. I don't know yet. Maybe an hour.
Maybe I'll get Stearns on. That'll be interesting.
That would be fun, wouldn't it?
I don't know if it'd be fun for Stearns.
It'll be awesome. I'll see you on Saturday, Joe. Appreciate you coming on.
All right, guys. Tiki,
see you, Joe.
Ev, all the love, guys.
You got it, man. The great Joe Benigno. He'll be broadcasting with Sal out at Citi Field at Amazing Day, 10 a.m. to 1 at the Metro Market at Citi Field, which is up in the Piazza Club.